The Otomo parried blow after blow around Kyoto, and even managed to land a few hits of their own. A combined Hosokawa Iwaki army was destroyed, with the Iwaki being conquered as a result. The locally powerful Miyoshi lost their army on Honshu, while the Otomo navies kept them from reinforcing. Elsewhere at sea, a huge coalition fleet stumbled into the most powerful formation of ships Japan had ever seen, and was annihilated at virtually no cost. With all seeming well, Otomo Sugatsura defied his supposedly disrespectful orders to hold the line, and marched out to challenge the prestigious Azai clan to battle. Already it has been proven that we are the finest among the Otomo. Finest in Japan, that would also make us. That is why we cannot waste our potential. That is why I have confused you all with this sudden march. There is an ancient saying passed down to us from the great masters of war. It teaches that if victory is certain, you must fight, even if your ruler forbids it. It is a selfless philosophy. It is achieving the goals of the state that matters, not the goals of the individual. What does this mean for you? Only that victories and wealth worthy of the finest men will be all one hears of in this camp very shortly. For me, I take responsibility for the hubris my family might breach, and drive on towards the pinnacle of excellence, leaving all those who call for me to stop climbing behind. When I hear that some refer to me as the Barbarian Prince, I smile with pride, for I know they are scared. They know what I can do, what all of us here can do. I say we do it, and see what others think then. Hello there and welcome back to Barbarian Masters, where Sugatsura is making this attack against the Azai army. Two armies in fact, a smaller one and a bigger one coming in as reinforcements. Because of our cannons, the enemy are forced to attack us, and as they charged across this nice open field, we've blown up quite a lot of them with the artillery and are now gunning some down with the Tercios as they get close. Also, since the enemy had to charge across the field, they'll be nice and tired for the upcoming engagement, so that's good news for us. And they're going to be low on morale as well, having been subjected to various morale shocks on the way in. Once they get close, all of these Ashigaru will find that we had all of these samurai hidden in the trees here, so now they'll have to fight some difficult battles, slightly uphill as well. They'll get the charge bonus, but after that we're going to have the advantage in that fight, so we'll start grinding our way through these enemies as best we can. I tried to do a few charges myself with a bit of last minute micro. We've also got plenty of stuff over here on the eastern part of this little hilly area. We've got our pikemen holding the enemy Ashigaru back quite well here, and all of our reinforcement units positioned in a long line with a cliff guarding their right flank. I was going to use this to fold around and hit the enemy from behind, but it attracted some attention from the enemy, in particular their general, who came in to fight. But atop the cliffs I've put all of my reinforcement archers, who can now snipe those enemy Hatamoto pretty easily. Another general is doing some suicidal moves here back towards the centre as they try to break through our pikes. Not really going to happen, they're going to be annihilated. You can see there's actually a bit of impassable terrain in the middle of our line there, and we're going to use that to our advantage by having our gunners now shoot the exposed enemy from just atop these small cliffs where the enemy can't possibly retaliate. So plenty of juicy targets for us to shoot at there. We'll just leave the units to get on with it and diminish the enemy and inflict a pretty hefty morale shock, I expect, as well. Their reinforcement army is starting to get closer. They've got lots of samurai and generally more serious units out here, but they've also now been blown up quite a bit on the way in, so that's going to help us out. We managed to completely rout the first army before those reinforcements arrived, so that's going to help us out by allowing us to get back into formation to reset our trap before the enemy arrive. They're advancing in a very wide formation though, and a lot of their troops are actually coming to our more exposed Ashigaru out here near the cliffs. But atop the cliffs, as well as the archers, I've got my firebomb throwers, so cover your ears because they're about to destroy half a unit of enemy archers in about 1 second. A very effective attack there. So as long as those archers hang around near the base of the cliffs, we'll just keep fighting them. They are shooting back at our archers, and we're probably losing that engagement because our guys are much worse. But once the firebomb throwers get into things, we can turn things in our favour very effectively, and the enemy generously didn't shoot at those guys, so we're going to have as many bombs as possible. And there goes another unit. Very effective, these firebomb throwers, when they actually hit properly. Now that they're trained up and high level, they have a high accuracy stat, so they're actually extremely good at just tearing units apart in a single volley. Now anyway, the enemy were lacking in melee units because they were so spread out over a wide area, so I'm taking chances to attack their archers as best I can. Here my cavalry are actually struggling to take down those high level archers, but doing a bit of damage. Elsewhere we're going to have more luck as I just charge our general troops out to engage these completely exposed archers who curiously didn't even bother skirmishing away, so that's going to make this battle a bit quicker. Now we can engage them with far superior troops and try to take them down. There's plenty of stuff in this area over here, but it's rapidly being blown up, so soon we'll have this area under control as well. Our archers going to do damage as well as they shoot out into the flanks of enemy units, and very soon everything routs under this pressure. Now I actually made a bit of a mistake right here at the end of the battle, because in Shogun 2, normally when you end the battle it kills most of the stuff still on the field, so you don't have to chase it down, but it actually doesn't do that if the units came on as reinforcements, which most of them did in this fight. And that means we didn't really wipe out the enemy in that battle. There's still another battle we're going to have to do, and at this time the enemy will have a castle on their side, and that castle will spawn a whole bunch of garrison units, so we're still fighting probably a stack's worth of troops here, and it's going to be a castle assault, so not the easiest thing in the world. But then again, we do have our Nanban weaponry, which specializes in taking down castles. So we'll head down onto the field and give this one a go. First though, we'll have to take out the enemy reinforcements. I thought they were coming in on the southeastern part of the map, but actually it was the southwestern, so that was inconvenient. I'm going to have to rapidly reposition my whole army as the battle starts, just to go over there and kill them before they get inside the castle while they're exposed. Annoyingly, I had some cannons who themselves are very exposed here. The enemy might find them as they rush towards us. Fortunately, these are the cannons that are actually mobile, our smaller ones, so I'm going to go hide them in the woods for a bit. Our other cannons are in position to start pounding the enemy castle and making use of that fun physics glitch to just kill as many enemies as possible before we actually have to think about doing a proper assault. Good father, I write now from Kyoto, finding it to be in a mostly acceptable state. There is no church here, I noted though, and no missionaries work here. I believe General Kobayakawa may not have been taking the salvation of the people seriously. I must request funds to reverse this situation. I would pay for it myself, but the guilds uniformly bark about their war economy schemes, in which all services now cost significantly more than is dignified. Better things to spend coin on, with so many enemy agents of expensive taste in the area. Anyway, I have assumed command of the local forces as you requested, and can confirm that General Kurokawa is alive and still spouting off lines about his own virtue to any who will listen. I won't sweeten my assessment of the situation. The enemy outnumber us severely. Yet now that I lead the people in prayer, a change in fortune and fortitude is a guarantee. When I met the Emperor, he wore a crucifix around his neck. If the spirits truly are not in service to the Lord, then they are clearly powerless in the face of his will, as are our mortal foes. By rushing to the west, we were able to intercept the Azai reinforcements well before they reach the castle. So the fight that now breaks out is pretty messy, as both sides are out of formation. The only real difficult point for us is here, where our Portuguese troops are surrounded by enemy Ashigaru, and our archers who are trying to shoot at the Ashigaru are now inflicting friendly fire. The Portuguese troops are somewhat immune to arrow fire as it happens because of their really high armor stats, but enough arrows will still do some damage to them. Anyway, they win their fight in the end, and all the other smaller fights where it's just samurai and Ashigaru are won. Then it's back to this. We'll just weaken the defenders with a barrage from our siege weapons, killing tons and tons of enemies using the weird physics effect. Even troops just standing near the walls are annihilated by those explosions. I'm setting up my smaller cannons here on the southern side of the castle to engage the face of the wall that was most heavily garrisoned. These smaller cannons do less damage to walls and they have less ammunition, so they're not quite as good in siege battles as the other type we're using, but they'll still do the job as long as they destroy these pieces of wall eventually. We've got some really high level samurai archers waiting here to be removed from play, and down they go en masse. Thanks to these cannons being mobile as well, we can move them around a bit and get better angles where we need to, since the forest is kind of blocking our line of sight there. After a while, we've destroyed most of their towers, we've destroyed tons of enemy units, and we're even destroying their gates using our cannons from very far away. That'll make it nice and easy to get inside with melee troops should the need arise. First though, we will need to use our archers to thin the enemy out. As usual, we just walk up and look for survivors from our artillery bombardment and take them out with a hail of arrows, using lines of sight to avoid getting hit by their archers, taking out the archers first and foremost, and then once they're down, we can freely fire at all of the enemy's melee troops who just wait around and are apparently scripted to not come out and stop you from doing this. So we are going to inflict extreme losses on the enemy, and in fact I think we killed everyone inside the castle down to the last 20 or so men before I started moving inside, and once I did come in, the remaining enemy troops just routed, and that was the end of that. A very easy, decisive victory. Our army's so well composed to attack castles, they just don't pose any threat anymore, and in fact I think it's easier to take castles than it is to fight field battles almost. So virtually no losses, a level up for Sugatsura, so that's good news, and of course the capture. I was originally hoping we might be able to vassalize someone here so that we could then focus on the northern approach down from Echizen with our main force and have the AI build up an army to defend that choke point. It's not the case, so I'm occupying the castle. The thing to worry about now is an attack coming from the south because there are enemy armies nearby. I can't afford to repair the damage I just did to the castle, so that's annoying. We'll have to wait until next turn. Now I happen to spot something very dangerous right here. There's a Honma fleet, I say a fleet, just 2 Bokuboya, but it's carrying an entire army. So this is the sort of thing we need to watch out for and make sure we maintain control over the seas for, so that the enemy can't just dump armies wherever they want behind our front lines. In this case, the enemy almost evaded us. They went out of our sight and out of our range, but the Nanban ships actually have longer range than the Japanese one, so I can send a Nanban trade ship out on its own to look for these guys. We did manage to find them, and I've still got enough points to go in and make this engagement. 1 Nanban trade ship against 2 Bokuboyas, no problem at all to deal with this small threat, and as we destroy the enemy, it's going to remove the entire army from play. Just needed to hit these guys with a few cannonballs, and while you can't quite tell at first, we got a lucky hit there. It looked like we missed, but it actually caused the enemy to start sinking, so we do not need to fire anymore, and the enemy did fail to set us on fire, which they were trying to do there, but no luck when you have so few ships. It just can't be done. Down goes their last ship, and although we don't see it, this represents the destruction of their transport fleet as well. It just goes down with the navy on the campaign map, so we've probably saved ourselves an enormous amount of trouble there, and we just about had enough points to get out of the attrition zone as well. So all told, that engagement went very nicely. Now we make it to the next turn without anything in particular happening, although we learn there's been a suspicious death near the capital. I was a bit confused by this. I'm not quite sure who it actually was. Maybe I had an agent that I didn't know about around here, possibly a missionary, not even sure, but the ninja that we can see isn't facing the settlement. I thought they might have killed someone who was in the settlement, but I'm still not sure who it was. Anyway, at least Yoshishige and Kurokawa are still alive, we've confirmed that, and our geisha is just going to get rid of this ninja, so hopefully that will get rid of the problem going forward, and now we are agent free by the looks of things, although there may be ninjas we just can't see in the area. Now over with Sugatsura, I'm considering going to attack the Ishida to the south. Because their castle is an equally good choke point to the one I'm already in, we might as well take it. It's no more risky to have. And a geisha discovers for me that as I don't have an army up in Echizen, that means we're going to be safe for a few turns at least to leave this area relatively ungarrisoned. So I start moving out, and we actually get a very nice scenario. I attack these survivors from the Azai, and they draw into battle the main force of the Ishida inside the castle, so they're going to have to come out and fight us in the field, which, if we can play this right, will make taking the castle super easy. So all I do is dump our army on this nice high mountainous terrain overlooking the enemy's approach. Now our cannons can open up on them as they come towards us, and we'll just do as much damage as we can. We already have a small advantage on the balance bar as the battle starts. All we're going to do is make that better and better as they get closer. The trees will offer a bit of cover for them, but still we can expect to get hundreds of kills and demoralize the enemy before anything gets started. And of course those Azai survivors trouble us no more. They just ran at us and died instantly.
My lord, I have a report from Kanai. Let's hear it. We've plenty of time. Your brother has arrived and taken command of Lord Kobayakawa's men, even those I had loaned to him. I learned of no exceptions, my lord. Brazen, although he probably took no heed of what each company's previous orders had been. Plans out the window then. Anything else? He knows about your advance. He has probably sent word to Kyushu of it. No helping that. Do you know what he plans to do? Nothing exact, but word is that he is gathering supplies in camps rather than the cities. So he plans to attack, while criticizing me for doing so. He knows I am right and wishes to ride my momentum. The jealousy must have afflicted him as well. It would benefit the clan greatly if Yoshishige did not throw everything away trying to catch up to me. And we must lay the foundation for General Kobayakawa's return. You have new orders, my lord. Not yet. I don't think we can stop him, sorry to say. I suppose... Ensure the Psyker know his every move. Easy to deny, and it might just keep him corralled until safer hands are on the helm, and I have finished cutting Kanai out of the coalition. Single-handedly.
The enemy press on through our bombardment to get closer to our army, now exhausted from running uphill, and we start to gun them down with our Turcos, and indeed as they get a tiny bit closer, our archers can fire over the top, putting plenty of ranged fire onto the enemy, and tons more troops will be killed in this late part of their advance. They're going to be arriving with virtually nothing left at this rate. Every unit in the enemy army seems to have been damaged on their way in. They'll begin their attack now, but the balance bar's already pretty far in our favour as things get started. They're sending some troops further up the mountain, where there is actually a way for them to outflank us that I didn't know about. Luckily for me, I put my firebomb throwers in this corner just in case the enemy got up there, and they're able to throw over the top of this ridge and hit the enemy before they arrive, so we'll inflict some pretty hefty casualties on them there. Meanwhile, the rest of the fight will begin as the enemy advance forwards into our lines, but their exhaustion will heavily limit their combat ability. They don't really get a charge off at all, probably too tired to even try, and now fights will start that will be mostly in our advantage. We certainly have numbers on our side, that's for sure. We can start folding around the enemy on our right here to outflank them with all of our reinforcement Ashigaru. The rest of the fight should be okay, especially where it's our samurai fighting their Ashigaru, and they only have a few archers supporting, so our own archers will deal with them. And as for the troops coming over the ridge to attack us, I had 2 reserve units of Katana samurai who can just block them and probably easily defeat them there. One of their generals comes down to try and stop our outflanking maneuver and fails because it's all spears. Another general tries to follow his men over this ridge up here, but I turned the cannons to fire on the ridge, and now that general's in big trouble. It seemed like he was planning on leaving, but after receiving that cannon fire, it just charged down, perhaps hoping to get out of its line of sight, but most of the Hatamoto are dead, and at this point, the entire army chain routes. So unlike in the previous battle, I'm not going to finish the fight right here. I'm going to learn my lesson and actually manually pursue the enemy, because all of these units are reinforcements. So we need to kill as many as possible to make sure there's as little as possible left in the castle after this. And our artillery will now come back into the fight to shoot units that are too far away for us to attack with our pursuing units. So that's kind of handy. Here's the result I eventually ended up with. We did indeed get most of the enemy force. Not completely ignorable losses on our side, especially among the Ashigaru, but that's not too bad. We're still in decent enough condition and can go on to fight again, which is exactly what we need if we want to take advantage of the now weakened Ishida position. I was slightly apprehensive about going straight onto the attack, because this new castle will be so surrounded by enemy territory that we might just get counter-attacked by 4 stacks or something immediately and be left in a very dire situation. But I'm still going to try it anyway and see where this goes. I come in to lay siege. Because they still had half an army outside the castle, the balance bar's even. I possibly could do the thing where I rush in and capture it really quickly to avoid fighting that army, but because it was an even fight, I decided to leave it and see if the enemy sallied out. Especially because if there are more enemy armies nearby and they come to help with the siege, leaving the siege going still allows me the chance to retreat. Now back over in the west, I made a lucky discovery when one of my boats, which was just switching between various navies, discovered a Goto navy carrying their army that's just been set up near the coast of Kyushu. So next turn they were probably going to naval invade us. So handy that I happened to see that. It raises the question of whether we really can protect our shores with our line of sights not being sufficient to discover enemy invasions as they come in, but we'll just have to see how that goes really. Now you can see that I had this fleet nearby that I was going to use to just annihilate the Goto, but for whatever reason they were glitched and couldn't move, so I had to abandon that idea. Sugatsura became brave in that last battle apparently, so that's good, gives you a morale boost to all your men. And I eventually just got some regular ships together to chase the Goto off. Didn't have enough movement points left over to actually pursue them, so they still might come back. We'll have to try and find that fleet later on. Now back down near the capital, we've got an opening here for an attack. Because we defeated the Hosokawa armies recently, they don't have much in their territory. They've got 2 territories just to our south. And with the arrival of Yoshishige, we now have lots of troops to play with, more than we need to set up our defensive line. So I'm going to move out and attack a castle and just see what happens, essentially. We may indeed still get flocked by enemy armies from all over the place, but if that does happen in this particular case, we will have forces in reserve who can then follow up and attack the positions that are made weak by those enemy moves. So there is some value in trying to draw the enemy back away from the front line like this. Anyway, I managed to get a decent number of troops together to just auto-resolve this Hosokawa castle, and none of the armies could reinforce, none of those that were nearby, so we'll just storm on in and take the place. And now Yoshishige is out on his own, ready for glory. We'll have to see what he can do out there.
If you won't be patient, then you won't find the victories you seek.
Patient?
We're losing troops by the thousands, precisely because we continue to wait. Attacking before our men are ready will not make things better. Yet at least the situation would evolve according to our actions. While we prepare, the enemy have besieged Sawayama. They intend Their strategy is known to me. You need not sit here explaining the rights and wrongs of warfare, especially with your own concept of such things being limited to the past week's action only. Do you believe I have not allowed such advances for a purpose? Let them cut Kinai off and swallow it whole if they must. When they see the progress they are making, they will dedicate all of their strength to continue the push. There will not be a samurai left west of the capital loyal to Otomo. You are proposing we strike them from the sea. The same sea full of islands newly formed from our lost fleets. They spread themselves thinner and thinner as they move. Already we have come close to breaking their perimeter. All we need is a single distracted patrol, and we can have 1,000 blades in the halls of Bungo. And Yoshiaki will laugh as the ashes of Kai drift in on the wind. If you are so insistent on action, then take a fleet and go establish a base on Kyushu this very moment. Then all may judge whether the time was right.
The plan to draw the Ishida out for a second time was successful, as you can see, and we ended up fighting a battle that was virtually the same as the last one we fought. I put the exact same formation in the same position on the same map, and we just whittled down the enemy as they approached us. And indeed we actually destroyed a vast amount of their army before they actually got into melee range. Many units destroyed entirely, others so weakened that once they arrived they're going to just rout in the face of our line and leave. So we're going to be pretty safe up on our hill, and you can see the balance bars pretty far in our favour, even before the enemies really formed up in front of us to actually start any kind of proper engagement. Their archers will be doing a bit of damage here, firing over the top of my Turcos now to hit my weaker archers behind, but they themselves will be subject to return fire and will lose troops pretty quickly. Finally, a few troops do actually make it close enough to engage with our line. I'm going to pull back the gunners and archers and just allow that battle to take place. I'm not even really doing any maneuvers here because I think we'll just win straight up very quickly. They're fighting uphill, they're exhausted, and they don't have the numbers to make any kind of breakthrough there. Their archers probably were more effective at damaging us, shooting over the top of that melee, but now they're going to retreat as the front line does the same, and our cavalry started moving to attack them anyway. It was about to end, whatever the case, and now as they go, just like last time, I'm going to need to chase them down because so many of them are reinforcements. We'll make sure we finish off the Ishida forces here. We're left with a huge trail of enemy bodies leading its way up the hill towards the main battlefield, where the body count intensifies and the remnants of our army left behind watch over this victorious field. A complete decisive victory over the Ishida now. The enemy losing more than 10 times what we lost. We're still in good condition to fight, could do with a bit of replenishment though. And here on the stats screen we can see that the cannons really performed well in that battle. Now that they are higher level, their crews are pretty decent. They're more and more accurate, so they become more and more effective over time. Anyway, that's now sorted out, and we do make it to the next turn without any further trouble. So we'll have to fight the Ishida just one more time actually, because a couple of units got away with it. We'll have to auto-resolve them now to attack the castle. Fortunately, nothing off in the fog of war is going to reinforce or anything like that. So we'll be taking this place, and as we do, we're going to be faced with a bit of a decision, because I get the opportunity here to vassalize the Ishida clan. I mentioned I was thinking of vassalizing the previous castle we took, but it wasn't an option. And here it is an option, but I was still wondering whether it really was the best idea. The advantage of doing it would be that your vassals aren't part of the war at first, so it just denies the enemy the ability to walk over here at all. It gives us a bit of a buffer zone to wait behind and replenish our forces, and just generally avoid being completely out on the front line with a weakened army where we might be swarmed by enemies. So I ended up going with this decision. We're going to keep the Ishida clan around as our own vassals now. They give us a free unit, very nice, although with our money being tight that may not be the best present ever. And our main force will now move backwards into our own territory so it replenishes more. We only need 1 or 2 turns to be back at full strength again, and hopefully the Ishida will just block any enemy movements while we're away. Now back over to Yoshishige. He is able to move out to attack the next Hosokawa castle. He fortunately was ignored by the AI during the end turn sequence, so we can just make this attack here. It's going to be another auto-resolve thanks to our big advantage. And the main question here is whether this is actually a good idea. We've got the opportunity to take this territory, but it's in such a difficult position to defend and will be cut off from our reinforcements further north that it is a questionable move. However, I am able to make a vassal here, and I don't hesitate to do that, because that will allow us to actually go back and stay near our other armies, while this territory will still be denied to the enemy and the border will be a bit safer. These clans aren't actually very powerful that we're creating, and the enemy coalition might just declare war on them, so there's no guarantee it will even make it past the first turn, but it's something. It's better than an enemy clan controlling the territory. We can also start trading with these new clans. They actually like us. Any vassals you make after Realm Divide aren't affected by Realm Divide penalties, so these guys are now actually probably our best friends since back at the beginning of the campaign, so we'll make deals with them accordingly, and we'll just see how this plays out next time. Otomo troops flocked to the front lines of the war, emptying Western Japan of its guards and relying on the protection of water and ships, both of which were already known to be unreliable. That wouldn't matter if the coalition's morale could be broken early on. If the rich territories around the capital fell, the Otomo would have the money and manpower to defeat even a complete union of the rest of the nation. With the aid of European troops, such a thing was not a long shot anymore. But whether it was truly the Otomo or the Portuguese who were getting their way was yet to be decided. That is it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and very special thanks to the OfficiallyDevin patrons for making this happen. We'll keep clawing away at coalition territory as we try to change our strategy from not losing to winning in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.